Landscape Photography World, the podcast for everyone passionate about landscape photography. I'm Grant Swinburne and I'll be your host on this show, talking to landscape photographers about their motivations, what photography means to them, and to dig a little deeper into the way they think about their photography. Over the past decade, Matt Jackisch has combined his love of travel, adventure and storytelling through the language of landscape photography. He finds a unique satisfaction in uncovering visual harmony between geometry and light, describing the process as similar to solving a mathematical equation. His approach is grounded in exploration, patience and precise timing, allowing him to interpret nature through moments of clarity and visual balance. Time spent in remote environments has shaped Matt's worldview, fostering a deep awareness of humanity's relationship with the natural world. He recognises the fragility of Earth's remaining original ecosystems and sees his work as a way of preserving their memory. Through his images, Matt seeks to express simplicity, order, reverence, and at times raw power, qualities he believes reflect the true essence of nature's design. Matt is committed to honest visual storytelling. While he uses advanced digital techniques to overcome technical limitations, his priority remains the integrity of the scene and the authenticity of human perception. Photography for him is not about creating fantasy, but revealing deeper layers of reality. Guided by mentors early in his journey, he now shares his knowledge through workshops and creative critiques. His photographic pursuits have taken him across the Himalayas, Patagonia, Greenland, the Faroe Islands, Pakistan, Lebanon and beyond. Alongside his creative life, Matt has worked as an air traffic controller since 2004 and is currently based in British Columbia. I hope you enjoyed the show. G'day, Matt. Welcome to Landscape Photography World. Thank you for coming on the show.
Hey, Grant. Hey, everyone. Thanks for having me on.
A great pleasure. I love your work and I want to talk a little bit about that later. But first off, why is Matt Jackisch a photographer and in particular a landscape photographer?
It's a loaded question. I could probably talk for a whole hour about that. Where to begin, really? I got into my job when I was about 25 years old. I'm an air traffic controller. And it's a very, I believe left side of the brain. You're only using one half of your brain for a job like that. You're not applying a lot of creativity. And it's a great job. You're secure and you're comfortable. And what I found was just was comfortable in my 20s. I was established and I was kind of left asking myself, well, is this all I have to offer the world? I just felt like I had more in me that needed more.
Sure.
I just had so much energy, passion, curiosity about the world, and it needed a know. And it took me a while to arrive on photography as my outlet. I took all kinds of wrong turns. I tried this, that, and the other, but eventually I started traveling and I brought a little camera with me. Just found that I got so immersed in that world of trying to observe and convey the moments that I was witnessing on the road. So I really enjoyed that. I enjoyed the mindfulness of it and the presence. And I eventually migrated over to landscape, I don't know now, 12 years ago, I would say.
Okay.
Yeah. The reason for going towards nature was I just love being in nature, and I found an opportunity to express myself in a unique way. I found an opportunity to just convey something original, something new, where there's just so much out there that hasn't been seen or at least told before through photography. And it just loved an opportunity to just explore and just observe the natural world. There's just so much out there to see.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm interested in how people perceive their work as art. Do you consider yourself an artist, a photographer? What is it in your life?
I do consider myself an artist, although I try. I mean, I'm not like walking around the street like, hey, I'm an artist.
Sure.
I think that there is definitely a lot of creativity that goes into how to capture the best of a moment in a two-dimensional frame. I mean, it's very minimalistic. There's everything going on around you like this, and you're trying to pick and choose the best way and the best moment to convey that to an audience and how to make it compelling and beautiful and something someone wants to see more of. I think there's a lot of creative energy that goes into creative liberty as well, if two things. But yeah, for sure. I mean, it's an artistic process, and it's a process of discovery, both with how you see and how you convey. So 100% an artistic craft for sure.
Yeah, sure. So for you mentioned you sort of just started going out and documenting what you were doing. Where did you go, aha, it's art? Where did the art start?
Oh, where did that moment happen? Well, I started with people. So when I was traveling, I went to a lot of countries where privacy was a luxury. So people didn't seem to be weirded out by having cameras pointed at them. So I just found myself capturing moments between people. It wasn't then. And, I came home and I started researching a little bit more about the potential with photography. Started finding the other photographers who were doing landscapes like Brian Dyer, Alex Norrie back then, Mark Adamus, the big names. And just, oh, wow, you can do that. And so I started to go down the rabbit hole of trying to, I guess, mimic that approach. And eventually it kind of came into my own way of expressing and finding my own level of what I'm willing to manipulate, what I'm not willing to manipulate. And once your work becomes very one of the kind, sort of irreplaceable, or you can't duplicate it, like it's just, the moment was so precise and the location was so difficult. It was just such an original thing that you got on your camera. Then I started to feel like, okay, like I don't think that'll ever be done again. So I'm pretty proud of that. And we'll call that maybe some art.
Nice.
Yeah.
Do you remember the first landscape photo that you just sort of said, okay, this is it. This is what I want to do. I really love this.
The moment that that's a tough one too. You ask good questions, but I'm going to say my first time in Mount of Assiniboine, which is a prominent landscape in British Columbia. It's in the Rockies.
Mm-hmm.
They call it the Matterhorn of the Canadian Rockies. So a really pointy peak. I was invited to join a few other photographers, and we slept in a hut together and just got out before sunrise and hiked. I just found myself incredibly present for that whole trip, and I was just so into my camera, and I managed to, we were a group of photographers kind of in the same place at the same time, shooting the same things, but I was able to get stuff that might have been unique to myself. I started to realize that, my approach is a bit unique. I was proud of, in this time I was very proud of it. So yeah, I was like, okay, I can show up to a scene, and even if I'm with a group, I can do it my own way and capture something original.
Mm-hmm.
So that's when it stands though. And that was 2015. So around that time, I would say.
Yeah, nice. And I guess, what was it that sort of sparked that in you? Was it the scenery, the company, just the overall experience?
For sure, the scenery. I mean, it was just so powerful. Especially when you're waiting and you're getting embarked by the weather. Finally, after 2 days of waiting, the scene unveils and you see everything. The mountains come out and they're covered in snow. Where you may not even realize what you were waiting for, but there's those moments of revelation, and when your patience paid off, and you finally see. I don't know. Usually, when the clouds part, the light's beautiful. So you just know you're witnessing greatness, and it's just so special. And it is nice to share that with people and sharing the passion with people as well.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, I don't always go out with people. I can go on my own, and I have different feelings about doing it another way. But yeah, for me, it's just feeling the landscape. Like you just feel it in your soul. It feels so great.
Sure. Let's dig into that feeling side of things around being alone or being with other people. You said you don't really have a preference either way. If you were pushed, what would you do?
Well, I've gone through phases, and typically I would prefer to be alone. I'm just very sensitive to distractions and things around me, and someone else phoned in on a comp, I don't want to get near them, and vice versa. Like I concentrate best on my own, and I notice best on my own. But I spent a lot of time in nature by myself, a lot of time, and that's time away from people, where you're isolated, you're secluded, based in the tent kind of thing. It does get isolating, and your experiences, even though you're getting pictures of it, they become not as relatable. So, there's absolutely a loneliness in that, sharing that moment with other people. it is now something that I'm looking for a little bit more, like just calling out some of the local photographers and being like, hey, you want to do this tomorrow, or weather looks good on this day, let's give it a try. And just trying to be a little more social about it.
Yeah.
Rather than, because you're almost like holding your visions to yourself. Like if I have a vision of something I want to go get, why would I invite four other people to go get it with me? It's my vision.
Yeah, I get that.
It's kind of selfish, but at the same time, you're on your own. So there's a happy medium there for sure. I still like being my own, but I'm trying to gravitate towards sharing a little more and being with people a little bit more. And it's good to connect, it's good to get in passion. And you're like-minded people, so it's good to be with people like that.
Yeah, it's not like you're sharing it with people that don't care about photography or don't care about nature. You're there with people that are like-minded and really want to spend time in nature with you.
Yeah, 100%. And they're patient and they're willing to go through a little bit of suffering or do long hunt there. So you have people like that in your life, don't push them aside and you want to do it yourself.
Have you ever done a shoot with non-photographers around?
Typically, I really try to avoid that. I'm pretty good about getting to places where you don't see a lot of other people, but on occasion, it's just unavoidable. And I just really don't like it because you're usually like obsessing over, a couple millimeters trying to get whatever flowers or rocks in the frame. And people are creeping over you, and I try to avoid that in the past. So
I always find there's a bit of a time pressure in it. It's like, okay, beyond the environmentals and the light and everything, where sometimes your time is compressed because you're only going to get that light for a few minutes as the clouds part and then they close over again, But having somebody there that isn't interested in what you're doing is
they're ready.
Really tough.
Yeah, they're actually waiting for you. I either try my very best to manage their expectations and be like, I'm going to be honest for about half an hour, or I just avoid the situation altogether. Yeah, really try. It's almost easier if it's more than one person because they can keep themselves entertained or distracted while you might think. But if it's one person waiting for you, then that it can get tricky.
Yeah. I shoot with my wife quite often, and she will go for a walk on, usually a seascape or something like that, and she'll go for a walk along the beach, and then she'll come back and sit and watch me still playing around an hour and a half later. Not long, honey.
Exactly. I'll only be 2.5.
Breakfast afterwards is usually nice, just after sunrise. It's
you just have to wait for it. And that actually brings up a couple of funny stories. I mean, my wife is very patient. So on occasion she'll come with me and she'll wait. And she won't say anything, but I still feel the pressure. Right? I remember we were once in St. Lucia, and I was photographing this tree, and it was our third time there. I hadn't done what I wanted yet, and she was just reading a book and sitting on this rock wall. And unknowingly, she was being eaten by ants. So she was covered like 100 ants by the time I was done, and she had bites all over her.
Oh, wow.
And I just felt so bad. She's a good sport, she's a good sport, but I felt bad about that one. Yeah. That type of thing seems to happen to us quite a bit.
Yeah, I feel it. You mentioned your backcountry hiking and spending time in a tent and so forth. What kind of planning goes into those sorts of trips? Because if you're going in winter in British Columbia, for example, in the Rockies, you've got to be prepared. You can't just walk out there in a jumper and, with a camera backpack on your back and a tripod if you're going to be out there for a few days. What kind of planning do you put into that process? What kind of planning process do you put into that kind of trip?
Well, I come and go quite a bit. So I've gotten pretty formulaic in my mind about what to bring. I have Tupperware bags that are pre-packed and Ziploc bags. And I try to organize my things where I could just grab it, throw it in a bag and go. So it becomes about, okay, the big question is, am I going to be camping or not? And then obviously, drop down my mind opens up and, okay, what do I need to camp, sleep, be comfortable, be warm? I have bins for everything. So actually I keep them in my car. So a lot of stuff is pre-packed, and then depending on what I just grab it from the bins. I typically work 6 days on and 4 days off. So particularly between 2017 and 2024, I was on all of my sets of 40s off. I'd be gone. I'd be, down to Oregon or, over to the Rockies if it was, if I extended it a little bit, or you're just locally around the Coast Mountains here. So, yeah, as far as planning, my wife used to work for a company called Arc'teryx, which is an outdoor clothing company. So I loaded up a closet full of their stuff and we got the discounts. So, having the right jackets is really key. So just grounding a few jackets, camera bag's always ready to go. Keep the headlamp charged, keep the Garmin charged. Yeah, does that kind of answer your question?
Definitely.
I don't keep lists or anything like that. I just run through a gauntlet of what I'm expecting to do. Am I going to be sleeping in the car? Am I going to be backpacking? Is it a date night? And then I just throw things in the bag and I dehydrated food ready to go. Yeah, so I'm just so used to coming and going that I just kind of
hardly think about it. I just find it interesting how different people work and think about, okay, I'm going on this trip. This is what I need. This is what this is what I got to take, and so forth. And I guess if you have that experience, then it becomes easier over time because you've learned the first 5 to 10 trips. Oh, well, I forgot to bring this, so I need that. I don't need this because that's extra weight, so I'm going to ditch that. After those warm ups, I guess
it becomes very habitual. Where it becomes problematic is if I have a really big trip coming up and I haven't done any small trips for a few months. You get out of practice and then you start packing and you realize how mentally out of this zone you are, and you have to really think hard about what you need for X, Y, and Z. And you just kind of fill those Ziploc bags up. Like, I don't like leaving anything behind. I'll bring nail clippers and a lot of things like that.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, I prefer to be a little over-prepared versus under-prepared, so I enjoy to bring a little extra. I like that a bit both with me as well.
Yeah, no. You mentioned looking to find something original, and there's a couple of schools of thought on this. One, originality is almost dead because everyone's photographed just about everything, at least in photography, and stealing from other people, and I'm putting stealing in inverted commas here, copying a composition or looking at things in a way that's been looked at before is part of learning. So you have that side of things, but then you have the other camp, which is, well, you've got to find your own voice, you've got to find your own style, and you've got to develop that. And to be honest, I think you need to go through some of the copying / stealing side of things to get to the point where you can add your own flavour. How do you infuse your style and vision into your images?
My style and vision, I endeavor to get into extremely remote places. So often very, very long, arduous hikes, or I'll even, with a group of friends, we'll do a helicopter in northern BC and we'll get dropped off somewhere where people just don't go. And so, but it's far easier to be original when you're willing to carry your gear long distances or go down.
Go places other people don't go.
Yeah, basically. It's hard to get an original shot of an iconic mountain that you can drive to. But if you're willing to hike a little bit, you get off the main path. I think that it's really not hard to do that at all. So I think one major advantage I have is just that I've just managed to keep extremely fit and just train a lot, and I'm just ready to go for any adventure. I can carry heavy loads and hike for 10 hours, and you're going to wind up somewhere pretty special if you're really going to do that.
Yeah. No.
So that becomes part of the process. It becomes part of the artistic process. Is how am I going to keep myself in that kind of shape so that I can go do that? It is very time consuming to be able to just drop everything and go on a trip like that and be able to keep up.
Yeah. Are you trying to tell stories with your photography? What is it that you are trying to express to your viewers?
Well, I've heard it described as like you're capturing a moment in time, a special moment. And it's often you're witnessing a transition, or it's not necessarily just a subject, like a subject in your frame, but it's a relationship you're capturing. So I think there is a bit of a story there. It's something that you wouldn't be able to describe with words. Like a glacier suddenly revealing your fog and layers in front of it and stuff like that. And it's just hard to just describe that stuff to words that we wouldn't know what that looks like. So, yeah, I think that there is a story there, and I really try to do it with one shot. Just take one shot that best encapsulates that moment. Doing like a whole bunch of them. So I hope that answers your question. I'm fun. Yeah. Transitions and relationships with nature. That I want to go for. And I like to, I'm going to butcher this word, but I like to anthropomorphize my shots where you're getting like kind of human elements, the human characteristics. I like spotting that in nature as well, where you get a bit of a, I don't know, David and Goliath type of scene, or I don't know, two trees in a romantic embrace or something like that.
I think every human sees the world in those sorts of terms to a certain degree. You can't help seeing shapes in clouds or shapes in rocks, and even rock faces can have different visual aspects that you go, okay, well, that kind of looks like a face, or it looks like a couple of people or a man running or something like that. And, those sorts of things can happen naturally. And I think it's just the way people see the world.
And that's what really makes it special, is we all see the world a little bit uniquely, a little bit different. So that's, our perspectives are all 100% unique to our own experiences. And that's what photography is trying to convey. I think we're already conveying that.
Yeah. One of the things a lot of photographers are concerned about is the impact on the environment from their sharing of popular places on social media. I'm interested in your opinion on some of that, and I guess how you balance that desire to capturing the stunning image with the need to respect and minimize your impact on the natural environment.
Yeah, I'm pretty sensitive to it. I know it's called gatekeeping when you're not willing to share, or deliberately ambiguous, but I have seen what happens to places that are overshared and overwhelmed by footsteps and by people. And it's unfortunate that not everybody is mindful or respectful of a place when they visit. If someone's willing to message me privately and they really want to know, and they ask, and they're respectful, I usually will tell them. But as far as geotagging on Instagram, I'm very vague. Unless the place has a built-in coordinate system, or it's extremely difficult to get to, or, if I'm not worried about it getting overrun, just because access is so limited, then I might be a little more specific about where it is. But overall, I don't want to see hordes of people overrun places who just violations on Instagram. The research is a very time-consuming part of photography, research and scouting. I go to lots of places and just visit and don't get a shot out of it because I'm just looking around. So when you find something amazing after, 10 failed attempts, I'm not going to lay down a yellow brick road for other people to get there necessarily.
Yeah, fine. I usually get the, where is this? Oh,
yeah, exactly.
Or DM, and it's kind of like, well,
like, where is this? No question mark. Like,
yeah, that's right. But sometimes I just say Australia.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah. The image is extremely vague, and they'll usually get the.
How do you deal with the comments though, where people are saying, "Hey, you're being a gatekeeper. Why are you doing this?" What's your feeling on that?
Much personally, because I'll either just ignore people who ask me where it is, or I will tell them. But I find it weird. Like sometimes they did a professional photographer asking me where something is. That I'm probably not going to tell them. That's their job, right?
Well, the thing is, it's not that hard to do your own research and find these places.
When there's no trail and very little information, it can be difficult to find. In British Columbia, still has a lot of wild spots, so it can be difficult to find some of these places. But I haven't had too much backlash about that. I have called people out for being a little bit too liberal with their prices. Maybe their spiel about this is why I label my places. And I think everybody has a right to know, and with proper education and legal trace principles, these places can be shared by all. And I do get that, but that just hasn't been my personal experience. I see trash on the trails. I see dog food bags. I see people having fires where they're not supposed to, people chopping branches where they're not supposed to. And I just don't have a lot of patience.
I've seen discarded tents.
Oh, really?
Yeah. It's like they've just got up, the tent's collapsed because of wind or something, they didn't put it up properly, and they've just walked away from it, packed up the sleeping bag and got out of there. It's
like that, someone's going to have to carry it.
Yeah, exactly.
Just a lack of accountability, really.
Yeah. It just amazes me how some people behave in nature, And we recently had it was only a few days ago, we had a local spot, which is very accessible by road. You can literally drive up to it. And it's a cliff called Lincoln Rock, which overlooks the Blue Mountains National Park here, which, when we're talking mountains, nothing like British Columbia. We're talking, I think the highest peak's about 1,500 metres or something like that.
Like here.
Yeah. Scale, forget it. But what you've got in that place is a sheer cliff with an 80 or 90 metre drop with no fencing. And you've got like 3,500 people turning up in that spot at one time, trying to get an Instagram shot. And the council's basically just said, all right, we're closing it down. You can't get in there. So they've put up roadblocks and whatever, so you can't actually get in. Yeah, and there were local residents complaining that people were using their front yards as toilets and that kind of thing, because there are no facilities there. There isn't a toilet. Now, whether they'll reopen it at some point in the future, I don't know, but they've literally just closed that whole place down simply because of the foot traffic that's going in there.
Yeah, we have similar issues here with similar results as well. Like, once a place gets overrun and there becomes a toilet, it typically gets shut down or at least severely restricted. So, I really do try to avoid those types of places, but they are beautiful. People go there for a reason.
Well, this is it. The iconic shots are iconic for a reason,
Yeah, exactly. And even just people who aren't necessarily photographers who want to enjoy something beautiful. They're gonna go to the places they find out about, and they're gonna find out about the places that get posted all over Instagram. So, that's just how it happens. Social media has already changed, the landscape, so to speak, of these places.
Yeah. I just find it fascinating how different jurisdictions deal with things, though. Some places they'll just shut it down completely. Other places they'll put permits in place. And I think sometimes the restrictions are interesting, the way that they're set up. But I also think sometimes they just drive more traffic to those places, or desire for the traffic, because they are restricted. They're harder to get to because obstacles are being put in the way. So people go, okay, well, I'm going to try and challenge that obstacle,
Exactly, or try to win it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought of this, but I was down in Chile, Patagonia area years ago. And I was trying to go to some of the lesser visited places. So I went to a place called Cerro Castillo.
Mm-hmm.
You pay $10 at the gate and you hike up, and there's a bit of a campsite up in the mountains there. And there were about 60 people camped up there. And there was no bathroom. There's no outhouse or toilet. So you kind of need some infrastructure to handle that kind of crowd, because it's inevitable. People are going to go to the bathroom and find, a quiet tree. And it's just inevitable. So, unfortunately, I think there's some responsibility jurisdictions to create, especially if you're taking things in mind, to create a bit of a place for people to go to the bathroom, at least, to maybe put some garbage away.
Definitely. Well, I remember back when I was a Boy Scout a long time ago. And one of the things we always did when we went camping in places where you were remote, there were no facilities, but you were going to be there for a couple of days or something, you always had a shovel along with your roll of toilet paper. And it was always find a spot where it's sort of secluded, off the track, nobody's going to step in it. So you can dig yourself a hole, do your business and get out of there, But I don't think that necessarily gets communicated to people these days unless they are involved in things like scouting or camping organizations where you get taught.
Exactly. I mean, because unless you really go looking for that information, it's not like people who just show up are going to find it. And, you'd hope there's at least a little bit of effort, but I've been hiking lately with a lady who hikes with 2 dogs, and she said that when you hike with dogs, it's a real big problem. Other humans, number 2, because the dogs find it and they eat it. And then, now it's, now it's a big problem, for that and so many other reasons.
I'm interested in how you balance your photography with the rest of your life. What do you like to do outside photography, and how do you make time for it?
I mean, that's the biggest challenge of life. I mean, I don't get enough sleep, so that's a big one. If you don't sleep, you have more time.
Yeah.
I'm quite active. I play tennis. I do yoga. I run. I go to the gym. I kite surf regularly. So, I mean, I am fortunate in that my job, air traffic control, does afford a lot of time off. They give us a lot of vacation.
Mm-hmm.
I maximize as much as I can. I've learned how to maximize every credit I possibly can get to do that. So I'm at an advantage in that way. And, I have a partner who is very patient with me, and she lets me go off and do my thing if she's not able to come. I don't have children. It's a big one as well. And I'm generally fairly selfish with my time. I have things that I want to do, and I make sure to hold space for them. And I set boundaries, and I just make sure that I have time windows to go out and do things. So I'm quite minimalistic with anything else in life. I keep everything kind of at arm's length. I make sure that I have time to do what I need to do to set myself right, good for mental health, get exercise, and be ready for another work week.
Yeah.
It's definitely a balance, and some years I get it right, some years I don't. Some years I go too hard and I'm squeezing too much in. Where I get up an airplane and get a couple hours of sleep and go right back to work, kind of thing. Like, you definitely have to. It's tricky, but I think I've gotten good at just trading my shifts where I need to trade them, and have some flexibility there, and just be very good about managing expectations of the people around me. I have to go off and do this thing for a few days. So I mean, it's just communicating, what you need and making sure that you do all your boundaries.
Yeah, no. Sorry, I'm just trying to find my place in my thing here.
Well,
sorry about that.
How are you doing it? How are you balancing it?
How I balance it? Well, I'm retired from a long career in IT, and so for me, there's not much balance. I'm podcasting, I'm doing photography related stuff quite a bit. I mean, obviously, I've got the wife and the family. I've got a new grandchild. He's just turned 1. So a lot of time spent with family and doing those sorts of things. With that, over the past year, we bought a motorhome a couple of years ago, and we've done a few trips, but nowhere near enough as far as I'm concerned, because
never enough.
More opportunity to be out there and being places which aren't here at home. So there's always more I feel I could do, but there's never enough time to do everything that I'd like to do, and that's one of the struggles that comes with being retired as well. You think, oh yeah, well I've got lots of time, but once you get through the household chores and all the things that need to be done around the house, and then, there's the grandkid, we're looking after him this weekend. Okay, that's great. Absolutely love it. But it's a soaking time, so that's a weekend gone where I'm not out doing photography. So then you just go, okay, well that's when I can do it. I'm going to schedule it. Having shared calendars with other people in the family makes a really big difference for me, and being able to say, okay, well, I'm blocking out this time. I'm getting in the camper van and we're going,
Well, I think, it's probably not a bad problem to have too many things on the plate to do versus not enough. And if you don't have enough engagement in your life or connected or things of your curiosity, I guess, and then, life can dry up a little quickly. And
yeah, definitely.
I speak to, having all that on the go. So your budget, you can find a little.
Yeah. And the podcast, which I'm doing for love. I don't do it for money. I do it because I really enjoy the conversations that I'm having. And so it in itself takes up time, So if I've scheduled that, well, I've done some episodes from the van, and that's fine. They work where I can get reception. So I've got to make sure if I'm going away somewhere that I'm not somewhere too remote that I can't get reception for the digital I've made. And then there's the finding new guests, lining up the timing and everything, and then the editing, et cetera, et cetera. So, I have fairly full days. And when there is downtime, there's always Netflix or a book or something like that,
Yeah, sure. And you've accumulated quite the list of guests you've had on the show. It's really cool to see who's been on.
Yeah, I'm pretty happy with some of the conversations I've been able to have. For me, it's been a bit like a university course in landscape photography over the past, it's 4 and a bit years now.
I mean, I've had that conversation with people all over the world with all kinds of...
Exactly, yeah. Everyone is slightly different, even though the format is largely the same. Every conversation is different because different people do things differently, think about things differently, and it is interesting to have those conversations. And it's a passion for me, and it's a project I don't see ending anytime soon. So just going to keep going. I have a very long list of people to talk to, and I'm just going to adding to it, and which probably means it'll finish when I die.
Well, I'm sure the more people you talk to, the longer your list gets. So you keep learning and running photographers.
Well, that's it. And everyone, brings up new names as well, which is fantastic. And being able to, find new photographers that I haven't seen their work or haven't spoken to. And, some of the people that I have spoken to have long careers that, span multiple decades, and you can, dig into, okay, well, why did you choose to go here or do this or whatever? And for me, it's just fascinating hearing those stories from everyone.
Yeah. So everybody's coming from a different place.
So you talked a little bit about the way that you feel in the field. What are you doing from a technique perspective around your photography? How are you thinking about, from even before you go out, you mentioned that you have a vision. So are you doing pre-visualization of your shots, and you've got a bit of an idea, if I go here at this time, I can see this, and that's what I'm going to put together? Or are you more spontaneous in the moment when you get out there? You go, okay, well, I'm going to go here. There will be something interesting. I don't know what it is. What's your preference?
Oh, I mean, it's a bit of both. It's definitely both. I do a lot of pre-visualization where I'll scout a place and I'll kind of ask myself the questions about, okay, what would this look like? Yeah, in this time of day, this time of year, with the sun over there, maybe in the fall or in the winter or whatever. I will try and come back for places like that. And sometimes if it's accessible, I'll do multiple trips to them. But I find that way more success just in the moment, seeing something I didn't expect, lining something up that I just very much in the moment was walking by and I'm like, oh, wait, there's something here. I might not even know what I like about it. It makes yourself ask those questions. Like, what that catches my eye? What do I like about this? Can I get it into my camera?
Yeah.
And it's moments like that actually I prefer, I think, because you become what's very fluid, very in the moment, very present, where you're basically just experimenting with what is presented to you. And I do find I have a lot of success with that style as well. And just that spontaneous way of seeing, I find is gratifying. It's a surprise, basically. And you showed up for it and a gift handed to you, something beautiful. And so I actually went back in my portfolio recently and sort of counted how many did I pre-visualize and how many just happened. And I'd say 3/4 of them just happened.
Interesting.
But as far as like a time, but I'm usually out there pre-visualizing more than I'm just shooting spontaneously. Like I am usually on a quest for something more often than not, but something else will happen. So you like to keep your mind open to possibilities. I think you can come away with all kinds of stuff. And a lot of those moments only last a moment, so you got to be ready for it, and you got to drop everything and see it.
Yeah. Well, the key to that is understanding your gear, understanding your technique and those sorts of things. And you mentioned experimentation. I'm always interested in how people deal with experiments that don't work and how they learn from them. What's one experience that you've had where you've gone, okay, this didn't work, but I really took something interesting away from it?
Oh, that's a tricky one. So sort of a plan B that became better than.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I'm gonna say I was visiting this. I don't know the name. It's a waterfall in Iceland, and it's in a canyon.
One of the fossils.
Sorry,
One of the fossils.
one of the bosses. Yeah, it starts with a G, and I couldn't even remember how to say it, let alone pronounce it. But it's a cave waterfall in Iceland. It's quite well known now, and I showed up in the middle of the day one day. I was just kind of running a spin of waterfalls, and it was packed with people. There was no way I was getting anything done there. So I left and I went off to the other side of the country and drove all the way back on the same day. I mean, it was a big day where I went all the way down and then all the way back.
Wow.
And so I got back to this waterfall at around 9:30 p.m. and it was still light out because it was summer. So
Yeah.
the people had cleared out. Nobody was in there. So I went in there. I had it to myself. You can only really one shot and you can get in there. So I kind of had that in my mind and going for this one shot. And as I'm setting up for it, a light beam from the opening of the cave shot in, and then it lit up the waterfall and a double rainbow appeared.
Wow.
And I'd never seen this shot with a double rainbow. So I got the typical shot with the double rainbow, but then I kind of found a different angle and managed to shoot the rainbow from really close and then the waterfall in the distance. So it almost looked like the waterfall was shooting the rainbow somehow. Like
So
a really bizarre effect. And, in a way, that one kind of turned out better. So unique and so the moment where, who uses, the rainbow was my foreground.
yeah.
Well, I just reposted this shot recently on so yeah, I mean, in hindsight, that really worked out. I'm sure there's way more other stories I could come up with, but that's the one that's done. So now, a plan becoming or a spontaneous moment, kind of just rolling with it and getting something.
Yeah. Yeah. What has landscape photography done to help you grow or change as a person, do you think?
It's gotten me outside a lot more. It's gotten me out in nature. It's gotten me more observant. I've learned from a lot of the bigger names like Mark Animus and Brian Dyer and those guys. So you learn how they see, head down with you into the field. So it's changed the way I see things, and you just learn you become more susceptible to beauty, more sensitive to it. You're more open, you notice more. But then when you look a little deeper, you realize how interconnected everything is. How it just, the way the forests grow and the way the light shines, and everything has a reason, everything has a purpose, and everything belongs in that structure, that system of ecosystem, basically. Like it's evolved for millions of years. And it is what it is today. You just realize that it's not really accidental that we got there. This is how it was intended to be.
Mm-hmm.
So, I'm not religious, but you almost feel like at the presence of the higher order when you're out there kind of realizing, like, this is how it was meant to be. This is what nature, it's creation. It was meant to look like this. So, I find a lot of sanctity in that. So, yeah, photography has brought me to that sort of perspective. And, I think I've gotten a lot out of it for sure.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Is there a favorite place that you've got unfinished business with that you just want to keep going back to?
Oh, yeah, I have a lot of favorite places that I have a lot of places. Yeah. I went to Pakistan in 2021.
Okay.
Over in Pakistan, and right away you're just like, this is the best place to photograph mountains. It's just amazing. So I'm going back this year in fall, and we're doing a bit of a different area, but yeah, I mean, I just have so much of that place that I want to get into my camera and just witness and feel. So that's one place. So you're talking about places that I want to go back to in general?
Well, I either want to go back to or places that you keep going back to because it's so good.
There are forests on Vancouver Island that are extremely special, and I find myself going back to them over and over again. And I'll visualize, oh, if I only got fog here, or if the light was only coming from this direction, and if the leaves were turning, orange. So I find myself returning to some of the same trees over and over and over again. A lot of them I have finally gotten what I want, but it's taken a lot of visits to finally convey that moment. I remember this one tree, it was just throwing me further, but no matter what I did with my camera, I could not get properly. And I visited it like 6 times. And I remember just laying in bed. I was thinking about that tree, and I had this aha moment. I was like, I know what I need to do. And I think I went back and I got on the ferry, went back, did what I had in mind, and it worked out really well. So yeah, I mean, it's nice when you finally just figure the geometry out. Just figure out what is it that needs to happen here to make this, to convey what it is to the viewer.
Yeah.
What makes this majestic, and how to let it out for the camera.
Nice.
Yeah.
What if, and this could be worldwide, what if you could retire at one of the places you've shot? Which one would it be?
Retire? Like live there?
Yeah, like live there, and that's where you're going to photograph for the rest of your life.
Oh, well, I think, the greatest gift in life is change, and being able to have different flavors and trying different things. So it's hard to just pick one flavor of ice cream. If I could pick one place, I mean, there's a place in Semaphore, in Pemberton, which is north of Whistler, which is quite famous, as called Semaphore Lakes. And I'm just in love with that area because it's just all encompassing. It's got, the lakes, it's got lovely colors, mountains, glaciers, waterfalls. And so it really has it all in one. That's a beautiful place that I could go back to over and over again. In general, like I'm in Vancouver, British Columbia. I'm very happy here because BC has so much that has not been seen or done. If you look on Google Maps and just zoom out and look at the province of BC and go up the northwest of the province, there's just endless fjords, endless glaciers, endless mountains. We don't see a lot of people because you can't get there by traditional means. I'm happy to live here and live out my years slowly visiting those places. I have a core group of friends that once or twice a summer, we will pick a place and we will, get on a helicopter and get them to drop us off for a week. And we'll just live there for a week and in the middle of nowhere, roam above the trees and climb every mountain we can and photograph every direction we can. And I'm just so grateful to be able to do that. I just feel so full of joy after coming home from a trip like that. It's just so rewarding to have those experiences.
Awesome.
To have access to the wild like that is just great.
Yeah, nothing better from the sound of it. And having been to BC a couple of times, it's I'm with you. I could definitely. It's one of the places I'd happily retire to.
Yeah.
Mind you, I've already picked my retirement place, and we're not living there yet. We're currently in the process of building a place. About an hour and a half up the coast from where I am now. 35 surf beaches within 30 minutes drive. We're about 200 metres from a lake. And so, yeah, I'm pretty happy with where we've picked and looking forward to exploring that area in detail.
I don't know if I'll end up in the country like you're going to, or if I'll stay in the city when I'm not working anymore. But I do like kind of the central and getting rid of the best of the crew. We'll see. I might end up on like the round as well.
Yeah. No. I'm interested in the way that people work with their photography when they're finished shooting and they've got home. Are you straight into your edits? Do you leave them to marinate for days, weeks, years, months? How do you go about your editing process, and what's your thought process going into that?
I wish I could edit almost right away, but I just don't have time. My backlog is about 2 years.
Oh, wow.
To produce. Yeah. So I've only just 2 days ago published my gallery from Peru, which was taken over 2 different trips, 2022 and 2024. So more than what, 2022's, we're talking like almost 4 years ago. So I've just finally finished those photos. Typically I use my time off. I'm not my time on, so I'll get home, I'll dump memory card in the computer, I'll go to sleep, and I'll go to work. And then I won't look at those photos for who knows how long. So if I have time, I'll run through a rough draft to pick the photos that I like and try to pick the crops that I like and maybe do a bit of Lightroom adjustments just to see if there's potential there.
Yep.
And then I'll find the ones I like and I'll kind of tag them. And then 2 years later, I'll finally edit them. My intention is always to stay true to form, to stay true to reality. I don't swap my skies. I don't, try not to do too much time blending, right? Not focal length blending or stuff like that. I mean, I really try to stay true to form, try to get it done in one frame if possible. So that's edits taken maybe an hour, maybe two. If there's exposure blending, focus stacking, it can take longer because I try to do that stuff manually. But my intention is true to form, keep true to nature and true to reality.
Yeah, nice. And in terms of editing, what kind of time are you spending on something that might be you're looking to put into a portfolio, for example? How long would you spend on a portfolio image? Is it a few minutes, a few days, a few weeks?
I'll do the quick Lightroom draft kind of thing. That'll take 20 minutes, and then I'll sit on it for a year or two. And then when I go back to it, I would say I spend a good hour to two on each image, just making sure that I have all the components just right. Like, I really try and dial in where I want the viewer's eye to go and make sure it's the brightness and the color correction of the frame is correct. If I'm getting color correction, it's really difficult because different parts of the frame need different color correction. So I'm really meticulous, and I just make sure to spend a lot of time making sure I get it right. Yeah, 1 to 2 hours, that'd be on the short side. And then if it's a really complicated image, like a panorama that has focus stacking and exposure blending, I've worked on an image for 8 or 10 hours.
Yeah, wow.
Just so many frames that have to go into it, especially with the older cameras that didn't have great depth. It's so many shots.
Yeah.
And if there's a lot of solar flare, that is very time consuming as well, especially in a panoramic shot.
Absolutely.
Anywhere between 1 and 10 hours.
Amazing. In those 1 or 2 hours, what sorts of things are you looking for, and what are you usually tweaking? I mean, beyond the obvious, dust spots and that sort of thing. What are you trying to do to your image?
For me, honestly, one of the most time-consuming parts, let's say I'm taking 200 shots of kind of the same thing.
Yeah.
First of all, choosing which one I want to use, and then choosing the crop. I find that getting the crop right is very time-consuming because I'm very meticulous about exactly the frame, what it should be. Once I've done that, then it's color correction, selective contrast, and getting textures correct, so making sure there's the lights. I'll accentuate the light a little bit using arts and light painting techniques in a very subtle way. I'm trying to make it very subtle. And again, just finding ways of drawing the viewer into the frame. So, I'll make sure that there's kind of the bottom and the outside of the frame are a bit darker and maybe cooler. And then the inside of the frame is maybe a bit warmer. If the scene warrants that. Yeah, things like that. Sometimes you have to pull a lot of contrast out of a frame for it to work because it's just super low contrast.
Yeah.
So I think just things like that really, I know some of those guys are try to, make believe on the computer and anyone can really do that, especially now AI. You can generate any scene you want. So I've decided to sort of veer in the direction that I presented with, and what can I squeeze out of that scene.
I've recently adopted a tool which doesn't have any AI capability. It does have AI capability built into it, but you have to pay for the AI. And so I don't pay for it. It's actually a free tool, Affinity. Yeah. And the nice thing is you can use your Photoshop plugins where they work. There's a few that don't, but most of the ones that I use I've found work. And pretty much all of your adjustment layers, adjustment brushes, et cetera, they're all in there, and they're named pretty much the same thing. So they're really easy to find.
So it's a Photoshop type of program I've never.
Yeah. And it has, so it's kind of like where Photoshop has Camera Raw built in as well. So when you open a RAW file, you're in a pre-development phase, a bit like Camera Raw, where you can adjust and mask and do a few things. There's no AI masking in the version I'm using because I'm not paying for that component. I don't want it because I really don't see the point in it, which means some things are a little bit more manual. And
Yeah, of course, yeah.
But
that creative process.
Well, exactly. And to be honest, I'm actually enjoying working out the techniques for, refining edges on a mask, for example, and working out how you can actually bring out exactly what it is that you want in an image in that particular program. But yeah, it's free. I did it because Adobe decided to almost double the cost of the subscription for me. And it was kind of like, see ya.
Yeah.
There's alternatives out there.
Yeah. I haven't had time to explore that, but I can definitely see why.
I personally think the freedom from AI is one of the key, benefits for me as a creative person, is that I'm the one that's doing any adjustments and I'm controlling what gets adjusted and what doesn't. Yes, it would be nice to have AI noise cancelling for some of those images where you bring out the shadows a little bit and they get a bit crunchy, But
yeah,
the old techniques still work. You mask those areas and you then bring down the noise in them manually, and it works. It's about working with what you got instead of leaning on a crutch that I think a lot, and I'm not putting this on other photographers. You use the tools that you're happy with. But I was leaning on a couple of crutches there with Photoshop, and as far as I'm concerned, I've sort of thrown them away, walking on my own and doing things that I can do with the tool that I've got, and it's working for me.
That's perfect. Yeah, you've liberated yourself from tentacles of...
Well, liberating myself from the cost of fictions as well.
Perfect. Yeah, I mean, I've managed to avoid that by not doing the updates. Like, I rarely do the updates.
Yeah, nice.
I've only just started playing with the AI, the denoise in Lightroom, and when you have a noisy image, and yeah, I'm pretty amazed by what.
I don't get me wrong. I love that. That's one thing I do love and miss a little bit, but I've found ways around it. There's workarounds, and for me, that also means I've got a little bit more control over how my image looks, as opposed to pushing one button and going, it's kind of like, autopilot, let's see what happens,
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, it's more personal though, man.
Yeah. Do you print much of your work? And if so, what are you doing in terms of preparation for that?
I really do not print very much. I mean, I'll sell prints if people want.
Oh,
I have a website for that, but I just don't get a lot of inquiries, and I don't push sales at all. So I print very rarely. When I have printed, or when I do print, I basically just make it a little sharper and a little brighter than I see on the screen and set it off. I had printed on a metallic paper that's face mounted onto acrylic.
Yep.
I really like that effect, and what the guy does is he'll send me a proof without the acrylic, but just a metallic paper. So I'll run through that process a few times, and kind of going to look at it and see if I like it and adjust it accordingly. And it's usually a brightness issue for me. I just find a lot of things come back too dark.
Yeah. Cool. So you don't have the backlighting of the screen, so you've got to lift your shadows a bit.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I printed for myself, but I'm not a salesperson. And that's not really why I do it. I don't want to sit in an art booth or push sales online. And so I generally photograph just to stay curious, and it's kept me very curious. Yeah, printing is not something that I've done a lot of. I'd like to do more of it than I would like to do a book one. But when time permits, yeah.
What about the times when inspiration is lacking? Do you ever have those inspirational or creative blocks that people come up against and you go, I'm not feeling it. I don't really know where to go.
All the time, yeah, I do. I keep lists of places that I want to go explore or go back to. So that helps. At least I have a reference for, even if I don't have something in my head to do or I'm feeling particularly creative, at least it's somewhere I can go and be in a beautiful place and maybe take my camera out or maybe not. I'd say 4 out of the 5 of my endeavors, my hikes, I don't even take the camera out. I'm just exploring. The lights feel good. It's cloudy, or there's just nothing interesting to really point. Maybe there is, but I'm not seeing it. I'm not curious. So I just try to put myself out there, and if something happens, it happens. And I'm often surprised, and something does happen. But if it doesn't happen, at least I'm still there, and I'm enjoying a day outside in the mountains or the forests.
Yeah, fantastic. What do you see as photography's place in society, and where do you see it going?
Landscape photography or photography?
Oh, either or both.
Well, it really depends on intention. I mean, how it's consumed and what people get out of it. You know, we live in strange times. There's all kinds of stuff happening in the world, politically. It's a competition for people's attention these days.
Definitely.
And I think, having a connection to reality is very important. And I see reality in nature. I found the best grounding happens when you're in nature. Providing people images of that, I think, might be calming. It might give them a perspective they didn't know was real or was available. So photography is about presenting perspectives. And I think it's important to share perspectives that are rooted in reality, because, it's easier to just lose the plot on your whole life and forget why you're alive, why you're here. And, keeping multiple perspectives flowing online and if I could, keep people grounded, basically.
Yeah, definitely.
You can use photography to skew perspective. And so, that's why intention really comes into play. Is if you're an honest photographer who just wants to share a moment or something that actually happened, maybe your audience can entrust you, because trust is important in photography. So I think that people choose carefully who they trust in where they get their information, but also whose art they appreciate. It's just about connection and perspective and attention for me, if that makes sense.
What's the best and or worst piece of advice anyone's given you?
Oh boy, I've had a lot, and of course I'm blanking, but the one that sticks out in my mind is it's keep one foot in your ideal of the way you wish the world could be, and 1 foot in reality with whatever that may be. So live your dream or how you wish your life could be, but make sure you keep a connection with, stick around with how things actually are. So you can have your principles, but at the end of the day, the world is what the world is, and life is what it is. You have to find a balance there. Some people are firmly, just very practical, very, kind of almost cynical about the way the world is.
Yep.
And they're just consumed with that. And other people are often Neverland, and they're completely in an artistic mindset or a creative mindset, and they may have no practical value whatsoever, and they struggle to put food on the table, even just to figure out how to survive.
Yes.
So you have to kind of find out how to reconcile those two ideals, those two worlds, even just recognizing that that's a thing. Like, either how do you want things to be, and there's how things are, and how do I put that together?
Yep.
Livable. So that's one that stands out to me. I think I'll go with that.
Yeah, no, that's great advice. Fantastic. Are there any other photographers out there? You've mentioned a couple, and I think I've spoken to at least 1 or 2 of them. Are there any others that you think I need to be talking to on the podcast?
Yeah, you've already interviewed Tristan Todd. He's a friend of mine. Another one is Morgan Carmount.
I don't think I've spoken to Morgan, no.
Yeah, no, he's been very outspoken and very passionate young guy and very gifted. So I think he'll have a lot to present to you for sure. I've done several hits with him, and he has his opinions about photography. So I'm interviewing him. Another guy, have you interviewed or spoken with Blake Randall?
I might have. I'd need to go back through my list. Sorry.
Okay, not Blake.
I'm pretty sure he's already on my list, but I can't really not have spoken to.
I'd be surprised if he wasn't on your list, because he won Natural Landscape Awards in third year, I want to say. Very quiet guy, very reserved. But he's so gifted and so hardworking, and his portfolio is stunning. But him and I Rico, I just love seeing, working with the guy because he's up for anything and he's so patient and we're making a team.
Yeah. I've just double checked. No, I haven't spoken to him, but he is definitely on the list.
Okay, good. Yeah.
Fantastic.
Yeah, increasingly growing list.
Yeah, no, thank you for that. My last question is one of the most important issues across not only photography, but life in general. Do you like pineapple on pizza?
Oh, yes, I am a pineapple on pizza person.
What's it?
But that comes with a big but. I hate not the cheese.
Oh, wow. Okay.
If someone puts a Hawaiian pizza in front of me, I will pick off the cheese,
Wow.
place the toppings. I have a bit of an allergy to dairy, but I just hate the texture of the cheese. So,
Okay.
yeah. Also, I put ketchup on bacon. Some people think that's weird, I think.
No, I can see that. I've used a number of different condiments on bacon and experimented a bit, and there's a few that work, there's a few that don't,
But the French beer gun, whatever you got, put it on.
Fair. All right. Well, thank you very much for taking the time to talk to me, Matt. It's been wonderful getting to know you. Where can people find your work?
I'm on Instagram, on Facebook, and I have a website, which is, I don't know if you can put it on, but it's mynamephotography.com, Jackischphotography.com. I keep it up to date, and that's about it.
Brilliant. Thank you very much, Matt.
Thanks, Grant. Appreciate it. Gratitude.
Thanks again for listening to Landscape Photography World. I hope you enjoyed the show and keep listening because I'll be joined by some great guests in upcoming episodes. You can find my work in this podcast at gruntswinburnphotography.com. I'm also on Vero, Photo, YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, and Blue Sky. Don't forget to like and subscribe because it really helps get the podcast seen and heard. I'm Grant and I hope to see you out shooting soon.